Kwani for it?
Yeah. 16 iko chini. Nafaa kuwa negative 12. Au negative 12. Umeongeza sana.
But iongezi hapa.
Hii iko hapa. So hapa hii iko separate. Hii inatoa hapa inaleta hapa. Hii inatoa hapa inaleta hapa.
Sauti yake inakaa hivi.
Hii ni hii.
Ndio najua. Hii inakaa clean najua. So nataka unini. Unafaa tu test yako. So ya Njori ama ya Stanu gani niko na 1?
Ya Njori.
Ya Njori niko sawa. Acha tu ibaki down. But umeitest on your end.
Sasa hii Gono.
Hi. So we have Jackie who's making a presentation for Sandam.
Yes.
And she needs to send you her presentation.
Yes.
We need your email.
Jackie?
Because I think it's easier.
In fact, he even has another
Flash.
like a flash. Is it already downloaded or it's still on your? And then it can be easier for you to. Guy, kama uningekuwa ngoja kwanza. Sasa nikikutoa haitafanya laptop iende ni escape. Haitafanya hivi. Haiko ndani, sicheze ndani. But imeleta ile nini? Imeleta ile, but sai bado watu wako radi. Imeleta ile
kwani tunazichezea hapa. Kwani tunazichezea hapa. Ulizikopi hapa.
zake. Nilizikopi kwa desktop. Nilizikopi inanishtua ni kwa nini nafanya hivi. Bombe Njori. Anifanyie. Njori itabidi kai na mimi sina nini.
Friends.
Ambia Njori ya frame screen. Unaonule demana smile kwa bana. Kama angeenda kama aende closer sasa holdia tu hapo
Umeshikwa.
Na niaje nimefanya hiyo kitu na iko inachezea hapo. Lakini mashine yako pia ni kama imekaribia ile muda. Kuna day I think nilikuwa na edit nayo picha. Edit picha kama 20. Shamaliza sasa nikaanza kujiedit peke yake. Ina command kila kitu. Hope you people are pushing the link.
Na sasa si pia anafaa tumie nani? Sio ana James. Cause asipotumia James.
And also, James needs to have this copy.
He also needs to have this.
Yeah, because James is for audience who are here.
She's the one projecting.
But it's okay.
Ama laptop yake. Maybe she will use a laptop there. Will she use a laptop for presentations?
So we can do it from here. Imagine. Check us out.
No, mnapush hiyo nini by
Si hiyo kamera ingine itakuwa ishafika.
link.
Link. That's it. Season link.
It pushes. Tusiwe
Stand.
tuko hapa na 2 views.
Yeah. 70.
Acha niongee pole pole.
Yes, 100. Ziko wapi?
So, kama zote zinashika audio yetu.
Bado hujapata driver? Oh.
A very, very warm welcome to you, to our customers, and to every single guest here. How awesome do you look? Have you told the person sitting next to you they look wonderful and purple really is their color? You mean you've been sitting next to them this long and you hadn't said anything? A compliment costs nothing. So let's get in the habit of saying, you look good, because you made the effort and you're here in the royal color of purple. My name is Sheila Mwaniga, and it is an honor and a pleasure to be your host this evening. As we begin, I'd like us to kindly welcome her as she makes her way to the stage. She is the Acting Director, Retail Banking at National Bank of Kenya, Alice Kimuhu. Please welcome her as she gets ready to share the welcome address with a round of applause.
Our Managing Director, George Odhiambo, our Board Director, Lina Kithuka, Marketing and Communication Director, KCB Group, Rosalind Gishuru, our esteemed guests, colleagues from National Bank of Kenya, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. So we wish to welcome you today to this colorful event to celebrate International Women's Day. Please give a high five to the person on your right and left. And you all look very lovely from up here. Yeah? The theme this year is to invest in women and accelerate progress. And this resonates with us as a bank. We in National Bank, we recognize the need to continually support women in business, which is critical for their growth and sustainability, in light of the distinctive challenges that they encounter. That is precisely why NBK introduced the NIA offering, aiming to deliver a comprehensive suite of financial solutions. This includes business needs. This includes business loans, asset financing, and overdraft facilities tailored to address the specific needs of women entrepreneurs. The program is designed not only to provide financial support, but also to offer essential technical assistance. This assistance encompasses the development of robust business plans, enhancement of financial management skills, capacity building, and mentorship, fostering a holistic approach to support women in their entrepreneurial endeavors. As a bank, we are committed to supporting women-led businesses and empowering women entrepreneurs in Kenya, regardless of their sector or industry. And in this regard, the launch of NIA is a significant step towards achieving this goal and driving economic growth and development in Kenya. National Bank has a long-standing commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And the launch of the Women Proposition products and services is the latest step in its effort to support underrepresented groups in the business community. On International Women's Day, let's celebrate the achievements of women, past, present, and future. Let's join hands and create a world where every woman thrives. So this evening, I would like to introduce my colleagues who are in the room. So I'll ask them to stand up. So those are my colleagues. We are the ones who you'll be engaging later on. If you need to know anything about, thank you, MD. He also sells for us most of the time. Thank you very much. So yes, so these are my colleagues, and if you need to know anything about our products and services, kindly feel free to engage them. Welcome. Enjoy your evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's give her another round of applause. I can promise you this. Tonight's program is going to be fast. If you blink too long, you're going to miss it. So changamka, changamka. We're going to serve you a very delicious dinner, but we're also going to inspire you with amazing presentations and a panel like no other. The theme of International Women's Day 2024 is Inspire Inclusion. What does that mean to you? You know, people like walking around saying, women, they are just the worst to themselves. Have you heard that said? I don't believe it. Because if I look at my career and my own personal experience, some of the most amazing breaks I've ever had in my life have come from women who have pioneered before me. Women who said, watch out for this, take more of this, spend less time here. Women who selflessly said, you can make it. And for you to be here tonight means you are definitely doing something right. In line with the theme that is Inspire Inclusion, tonight's dinner also has a theme that is Invest in Women, Accelerate Progress, and this just echoes that global thought. And tonight, we are going to listen. We are going to learn. I hope you network with people who are not just on your table, but in tables that surround you. Because opportunities like this for women, especially if you don't like golf, where are you going to network? And we were already told in this Kenya, you must know people. It's not just what you know. It's also who you. So please don't live here without new numbers on your phone. Otherwise, next year we'll discuss about why we're inviting you when really you're keeping your resources to yourself. And as women, when we share, we multiply. I'll see you. Now, we are jumping straight in to our panel discussion. And for this, I'd like you to join me in welcoming the moderator of the panel. She has over 2 decades of experience in strategy and project management with a focus on monitoring, evaluation, adapting, and learning. Meals is what I hear it's called. As a talented and experienced facilitator and trainer, she has facilitated a myriad of leadership workshops and meetings in East Africa, the Middle East, and other regions, both for-profit and non-profit organizations. She is the Club Growth Director, Toastmasters International, D114. Please give her a big, loud round of applause as she makes her way to the stage, Janie Mule, who will then invite our esteemed panel.
Today, we celebrate the strength, the courage, and the grace of women all around the world. Women who have stepped up to the race. We celebrate the mothers, the sisters, and the friends who lift us up and hold us close. We recognize the women who have shattered every ceiling and broken down the barriers with power and with feeling. Ladies and gentlemen, today we celebrate International Women's Day. And this means you and I. And later on, we'll include the men. How about that, right? Thank you very much, Sheila. Thank you so much. And we're going to do the panel discussion. And in a minute, I will introduce the panelists. And you are in for a treat. Our first panelist, one of these women that we are talking about, she is a consultant. She is a medical physiotherapist for 14 years, and she said this means she's a medic and she's a physio. How do you say that? Yeah, now you know how much I know about medical field, right? Yeah. She is also in the field of child protection and safeguarding the young children. She's also in the space of life skills. She is a curriculum developer. She is an entrepreneur in catering, supplies, Airbnb. This is a woman. Okay, she is a mother of 4 between the ages of 18 and 10. 3 are girls and 1 is a boy. And she seriously loves to have fun and have a good time. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together and help me bring on stage Salma Kwamboka. Salma, you're welcome. Take a seat. And where you sit means something, so you want to choose carefully. Ladies and gentlemen, our second panelist. This is also an entrepreneur in the space of ICT. She is not only a CEO, but she is the founder of Dignity Traders Limited. She has 22 permanent employees and many casuals at any time of the year. She loves traveling. Actually, she loves holidaying abroad and locally. Okay? One special thing about her, she says it as it is. And that's what you're going to get this evening. She says it as it is. Ladies and gentlemen, bring on stage Joyce Karaoke. Oh, right there. Oh, the idea is you clap and still she gets. That's why she sat there. Okay? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Continue. You're welcome, Joyce. Our third panelist. She's a practicing lawyer. She is an executive coach. She is also in social impact entrepreneuring. What she's doing is disrupting the justice system and access to health. By doing what? She is providing affordable, accessible, and dignified health care wherever you need it, whether you're in Kenya or in Juba. That is what she is doing. An interesting thing about her, believe it or not, I found this one funny. She has fought in the ring for 3 years, okay? The only thing is she lost. She lost, and hence why she's doing life skills, okay? And everything else that she's doing. Ladies and gentlemen, please. She's also a single mother. She did want me to say this. She's a single mother of 3 children and a half. What does and a half mean? And a half? She's adopting a child. How about that? Isn't that just so great? Ladies and gentlemen, Renee Gamau. Thank you. And like we heard from Sheila, this is going to be fast and furious. So we're going to go straight into it. Trust me. You're going to want, at the end of the panel discussion, you're going to want more than what you will get. You will wish there was more time to ask questions, but that is not going to happen. But let's see what we can get out of them in this little space. Starting with you, just a quick question, Salma, a quick question for you, and it's a general question, really, so you can take 30 seconds, if that is possible. Today we're going to be talking about 3 main things. Right? The main thing about the International Women's Day, we have been told, but today we're going to talk about 3 things. Inspiring inclusion, invest in women, accelerate progress, and building bridges across the generational divide. Salma, what does inspire inclusion mean to you?
Thank you. Inspire inclusion means that everyone needs to be eating from the same plate, if that makes sense. And maybe in Swahili I can translate and say, sote tutakula kwa hiyo sinia, all right? So this means that everyone, inclusivity means that everyone gets a share or everyone gets a piece of whatever is being distributed. And this means that as women, and how we can inspire inclusion is that we need to have discussions across board doesn't matter whether it's young, we need to be able to mentor the young ones. We also need to be mentored by the older ones. And we also need to pass on the knowledge to everyone so that we are not just sitting with whatever we have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And please think about that for yourself. Inspire inclusion. What does that mean to you? Okay, let's go to Joyce. Let's go to Renee. You're nearer to me, right? Renee, what does building bridges across the general divide, what are we talking about here?
Good evening. It is creating the ecosystem that practically and pragmatically ensures that everyone has the same result or the same outcome out of the same input. If you look at the numbers today, women today are still earning 40% less than what men are earning for the same job, despite the fact that we are carrying at least 30% more of the costs, which, what does that mean? We are the buyers of fast-moving consumer goods. We are the carers of children. We are the ones that are making the decisions that are holding up industries, and yet we are paid less on the predated assumption that there is somebody else who is going to fill in that gap, and therefore he needs to be paid more. So if we're going to bridge the gap, what we're going to need to do, sorry, they should have warned you that I talk very quickly, is that we're going to pragmatically look at all of the systems and structures that have ensured that some people can use a bridge while some people have to go through the ditch to come out on the other side, dismantle them, and recreate the operating systems that enable us all to arrive at the table, like she has said, or across the river, using the bridge analogy, at the same level, with the same support that recognizes who we are, the burdens that we have, and the talents and skills that we are putting out into the world, including those ones that are not paid for, like child labor or childcare. That, I think, is what that bridging that gap looks like for me.
Thank you very much. We are in for a treat. Joyce Karaoke. Invest in women, accelerate progress. What is that?
Thank you. I don't talk as fast.
Okay.
I would want to answer that question by actually saying that a lot has been done to accelerate and bring women on the table. There's a lot. We've done quite a milestone. And to me, what it means is to avail the available tools and expertise that assist women to move from one stage or one level to the other. So tools is what women need to move.
Tools is what women need. Thank you very much. I have been requested to come and sit next to you guys. So that's what I'm going to do as we continue the conversation. Thank you, ladies. Thank you very much for telling us what you think. Ladies and gentlemen, think about any questions you may have for these ladies. We will give you a chance, or anything you would want to contribute to the conversation. So begin to think about these things. So let's get right into the conversation. Salma, mental health. Today it is said that the youth of today are more open to talking about mental health issues. The older generation, we didn't talk about these things. Either it was taboo, it was a curse. You just don't talk about mental health, and it didn't exist, okay? But now, how do you think that we are going to bridge this gap? And, you know, I want to give you an example. I personally, we do have mental health issues in my family, and one time, because this is a youth, you know, when my sister told me this boy is talking about mental issues, you know, I'm like, I mean, what's that? That's crap. You get what I mean? I mean, what is he talking about? I've totally changed since then. So the youth are talking about it. We all know mental health is for real. How are we going to bridge this gap? Salma.
Thank you. That sounds like a loaded question. However, the first thing to do would be to demystify. all right? And demystifying means that we need to create awareness. We need to move from the known to the unknown. What is it that they understand about mental illness? And how is it that they are overcoming it? The young, I find them very vibrant in talking about some of the issues that they have. It's almost like it's on fashion. Oh, I have depression. You also have depression. Oh, wow. Are you seeing a therapist for it? Yes. And they encourage each other. Let's go for therapy. I create group therapies for the youth, and they are able to come in numbers like, let's go for something fun today. I'm going for group therapy. Do you want to join me? And like for us women, we'll be like, I'm going for chama. Tutenda na wewe. Or are you coming with me? So, and in that chama spaces, or even in the spaces that we have, and I have to applaud maybe churches, and what you guys are doing is having those prayer groups and having women to talk about their situations. I have heard of that happening a lot. But it also in these chamas is where women go and pour out some of the issues that they have. So for that, we have to ensure that first we demystify, and that's why as mental health practitioners, what we are doing is we are creating a lot of awareness and doing a lot of advocacy, especially when it comes to mental health awareness. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Salma, thank you. But, I would want to ask you a follow-up question that you wouldn't answer now. However, even though they're open to talking about I have depression, let's go for counseling, are they sometimes taking advantage? You have teenagers in the house and you're trying to get them to do things. Are they saying, no, mom, I can't do that today, I'm depressed? Are they taking advantage? But you don't have to answer that, just think about it. Let's go to you, Joyce Karaoke, CEO and founder. How did you get there? ICT is a male-dominated sector, but here you are. And I want to ask, as you tell us how you got here, who are the people who inspired inclusion so that you were included in this space? Joyce.
Thank you. One of the things that maybe I should say is that I'm a professional accountant.
Okay.
So I'm not trained in IT. I got trained in IT along the way. Yeah? So what happened, I got employed in an ICT firm as an accountant. And being a very sharp woman, I noticed this is where the world is heading. Me and my accounting, I think we have to style up. So I furthered my studies and now got interested into IT. And by the time I left that organization, I was actually an admin in IT. You understand? Eh? My boss was a woman. And there's one question she asked me, how far can you go with accounting? That was a very serious question to me. I pondered it for a while. I thought about it, and the best I could think about is that, them days, is that I could be an auditor. So I told her, I can become an auditor. And she was like, so you want to keep counting people's money? I salute that lady. She opened my mind to think bigger and to move on to take the risk. And there I was, a young girl. I started my company when I was 27. That story is quite long. I started it in a room where it was just me, a computer, a desktop computer that I got from my house, and a telephone line. That time, mobile was not it, so we used to use landlines. Mnajiuliza, how old am I? I have a son who is 23, so you can do the maths. So, yeah. I started, and it was quite a struggle then. I think I was the only woman in IT business, because my boss relocated, but we kept in touch, and she was telling me, keep moving, keep moving. And today she actually sits in my board. Yeah. So I started very small. I grew that company, and it was me, my integrity, and my effort. Those were the three things I had. I can promise you, I didn't have money. So I started knocking doors, looking for business, and the first order I got, because I still remember up to now, was a 54,000 LPU. Hey, 54,000, that time was like 540,000, I would think so. And I approached one of the suppliers who used to supply us, because I didn't have money. That time, I had an account with Standard Chartered Bank, where I needed to put 10,000 for it to operate. It's quite a journey. I mean, for that account to run, you needed money. Meanwhile, I have nothing. So I went, talked to this supplier. I told him, can you help me supply this? I'll pay you in 3 weeks. And he surely graciously did. Long story short, I got the 54,000 check, banked it, and that is how I started running my account. So National Bank, when you see me running that account, I've come from far. Today, the supplier is still my biggest supplier. Today. I do not even have to give them any bank guarantees or LCs. Why? Because I built my company with trust and integrity. So the biggest thing that I would tell women here, because I know we're going to become very serious business people, integrity is the only thing that will hold you up there. I mean, if your suppliers know that you're going to pay them, it might delay, but you are going to pay them. Today, that supplier, who is an Indian apparently, would give me a container of like 20 million. He just says, if it's Joyce, just give her. We will discuss later. You know, that is not easy to build. And that is how I got myself where I am. So the rest is actually a lot of history, but that was the starting. And here I am. I'm running an ICT company that is recognized in the ICT area. Actually, I am a very big threat as a woman to the male. To the male. I keep telling myself I don't do business because I am a lady, or I don't make it because I'm a lady. And this is something that women need to embrace, that you are not on that table because you're a woman. When that mindset changes and you realize that you're on that table because you qualify and that you can deliver, then the look will be different. So the second thing that has brought me to this end is that I deliver. And I just don't deliver. I deliver quality. You put me together with the male companies, I will outshine them. Deliberately, it's a deliberate choice that I made, that I must outshine the male in this where they dominate. I mean, I give them a run for their money. That is what we are capable of doing as women.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Oh, I had many things, but can you imagine from needing 54,000 to now operating in millions? How about that, right? And I like what you said. You're at the table because you deserve to be at
Skills. What do we teach them? We teach them skills, something they can do out of class. And that means when they scrapped out home science, they scrapped out GHCR, that can tell you how old I am. Watoto wa 80, please tuinue mikono zetu. Attend craft, sewing, all those things. When all that was scrapped off from the syllabus, it rendered most of the students, maybe just to say, depending on their education. But now, reintroduction of that, and even doing it in the curriculum, or even doing training in that, is just to encourage the young people, and even us, all right? How many of us were almost rendered jobless during COVID? And that was a wake-up call to everyone. What else can you do? And as the saying goes, whatever it is that you do with your hand, you will never sleep hungry. Be it a plumber will never sleep hungry. An electrician will never sleep hungry. A cook will never sleep hungry. So because most of the skills that they have learned is to do with their hands. So how are we encouraging them to do that? Conflict resolution is also one of them. Finance management is also one of them. So that's why we encourage. It's like an extracurricular, but more on tomorrow, if everything is shut down, what will you do? Do you also shut down, or do you wake up from that? So we also, a part of life skill is these things that we do, TikToking, content creation, that's part of life skill. But you have to create something that is positive for the environment. Thank you.
Oh, wow, thank you. But you know, Salma, let me just ask you real quick. Looking at the age group that is in the room here, and some people are employed based on their education or what they did, right, in high school. And you're trying, I think I heard you say, even for us, we need life skills, right?
Yeah.
So are you honestly saying, Salma, I am 54 years old. If I don't have a life skill, can I begin to develop one now?
Oh, yes. Why
Okay.
not?
Like
Actually.
which one? Like which one?
What are you good at? You could be good at singing, cooking.
I'm good at talking.
You're good at talking, exactly.
Okay.
So you'll do content creation.
Okay.
Yeah, and you
Okay.
sell.
Okay, thank you. So
Yeah.
we're Toastmasters. Ladies and gentlemen, it is not too late to acquire life skills. I think I'm currently learning French at 54. So yeah, it's not too late. Thank you very much. Joyce Karaoke, now that you're the CEO and founder, my question to you is, what are you doing, or what are you going to begin to do, who knows? What are you doing, or what will you begin to do to open doors for other young women, not only in the space of ICT, but to inspire the younger ones to go for whatever it is they want to go to? What are you, Joyce Karaoke, doing, or what are you going to do? Because the way I heard you, you had a lady who held your hands and inspired you. What are you doing to inspire others?
To be honest, the best that I can do or I'm doing is to speak out. Let ladies know that they have a chance, and it's all about them to exploit the chance. The other day I was surprised when I talked to a woman who is in business and she's not aware about what is agbo. No, I told her, really? You're in business. This is something that has been there for almost now 20 years, actually. I have availed myself to transfer knowledge and to speak to young people wherever I find an opportunity, in churches, in forums like this, so that women can know that we are not underdogs. We can lead that particular space of entrepreneurship. And from my survey, women are doing better in business this time around. We have learned to concentrate on the bigger picture and not concentrate on the sand. You know, previously we were known of concentrating on the small stuff and letting the men deal with the bigger picture. Now we are dealing with the bigger picture and the small one, and we are good. We have the capacity, the potential, and the strength. What else do we need? So personally, I speak out anytime I have an opportunity, starting from my house, family meetings. I have introduced a session in our family meeting that we talk business. We have 30 minutes talking business, and I'm the speaker.
I like it.
Because I've realized some of the things I know, it took me a lot of time and hard work to know. I do not want these people to go through what I've gone through. I'll tell them there is opportunity in the government for women. Can we try? And out of that speaking, 3 of my nieces have companies that are running. So that is impact, right? And I'm sure even in our midst, for those people who believe that business is tough, it is actually very tough, but it's doable. We can do it. It's just a mindset. It's focus and focusing on things that matter. Don't focus on what did they say about me. What did they, and let's sit and have coffee. That is what has taken a lot of our time as women. There are better things, there are bigger stuff, and we can handle them. Thank you.
Wow. Wow, that's good stuff. So she is speaking out. So let's speak out. I probably should ask you. I should ask the people in the room. And I'm not going to put the young lady on the spot. But if you can think about, she's talking about inspiring the young woman by speaking out. Is that enough for you? As a young woman, would you want more? I'm not going to have you answer that question, but if you're bold enough, you can later on. If not, you can send somebody on your table and they're going to present the answer. But think about that. Is that enough? First of all, how I wish that I could have that meeting in my house. First of all, how I wish my children would attend. And then that they would listen to me and not say, Mom, surely 50, you're 54, we are 20. I mean, what are we talking about here? So, that's really good for you. Yeah, you want to say something?
So before you talk to them, they have to see you. You've got to be impactful even before you speak. Because you don't want to tell your children, you can do. Meanwhile, you're not doing.
Did I just expose myself? She says you have to be impactful, right? Or
So your children have to see, all the people around you have to see, and then they will want to know, what is this that you're doing? Because I've also realized that information that we think is common knowledge is not common knowledge. It's not available. You get what I'm saying? At 20, they don't know how to open a company. So you have to hold them and tell them, this is what you do. Go to eCitizen. It's a lot of work, but you have to be willing. So availing myself is what I do to help. But pia wewe lazima ujitume wewe ukiwa kijana.
Right. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, please continue to think about any question that you may have for them or any contribution that you want to put in. Renee, you said it. You said, yes, ma'am. I'm impactful, right? Okay. Renee, you said it. You are an MBK judge, right? For this thing they call You've Got Business. And you have judged young female entrepreneurs as they presented their potential businesses. What do you have to say about what you have seen of how they pitched? What are the positives and the negatives?
So first, let me just say that I wasn't the only one. My henchwoman number 1 is sat right next to me. And that there were 4 of us. And that this was a fantastic program that came as a result of about 4 years of work, working with women to help them to start, to grow, to expand their businesses. And not just first starting with women, and then being invited into a space where I was working with women outside of and women inside a prison. And specifically, women in Langata Women's Prison. Now, if you can change the life of a woman who has nothing but the clothes she is wearing and cause her to become, first of all, to find herself, because that system breaks you. Number 2, to find a business that she can start on very little resource that she is expected to live off of, to grow that business to where she can hire 2 to 3 other women who are able to earn a living wage and use that model on everyone else. Everyone else on that pyramid, the famous pyramid, or below the pyramid and moving upwards. Everyone else in that cycle can be impacted. So here's, and there's tables that I'm not going to look at because they know themselves, who were the result of us walking this journey together. And it's a journey that requires that you invest. Number 1, we've got incredibly practical, pragmatic solutions to the everyday problems that assail us. And those practical, pragmatic solutions are profitable. Very often what we don't have is the structure to grow them and the language to tell the story, so that the people who are sat primarily at this table and that table and a few who are over here, I was looking, can be able to translate that story into the kind of financing that will help us to unlock 5x, 10x, 50x that business, so we can create the impact and the profit. So what do we then do? Number one is we need to disrupt how women are coming into business. We've got a model, and I say this because my background is in, and I am a practicing lawyer. My area of practice is commercial law, corporate law, so I know this. We have a system that assumes that what worked in the 50s and 60s, tweaked a little bit, will work in the 2020s, 2030s, and going forward. It makes no sense. It's like saying, you know that telephone of dialing? Those of you who don't know, there used to be a telephone where you used to dial. You have to pick up the receiver, you put it here, then you start, and then it reverses itself. It's like saying that if we add a chip somewhere on the body of that very bulky phone, that it will be able to be fit for purpose at an age when your mobile phone is primarily a camera with accessibility to other people. And so if we're going to disrupt this, let me make a challenge. Let me make a challenge to the financiers, the accountants, the service providers, the advisories in the room. We have to seriously ask ourselves the question, if we are serious today in the year of our Lord 2024, about transforming, first of all, growing and expanding your own portfolio, because business, banking is about business. If you're serious about expanding that portfolio and including those who have not been included, the one thing that must be disrupted, the singular thing that has to be disrupted, is how women access money. It's not enough that AGF gives you a guarantee so that women run or women owned businesses can be able to benefit from that guarantee. When you're giving 70% of the financing and you're asking for a deposit or a loan or an asset, a movable or an immovable asset for the 30%, when we know inherently the system is skewed so that women will not be owning properties that enable them to catalyze their growth, especially when they're 20, when they're 30, when they're 40, perhaps when they're 50, and that is only dependent or largely dependent on if they were married into or had a family of origin that had a lot of assets. The problem is inherent in what we are suggesting the solution is. So how do we disrupt that so that women, like the women that I am talking about, can actually have the access to the kind of funding that accelerates the growth, not from revenues of 50,000 to 500,000. My friend, at the interest rate, at the exchange rate at which we're moving, that amount of money will make no substantive difference in hard currency. But how do we actually accelerate them to where we are 100xing, to where we are providing the kind of financing that actually moves the businesses? Number two, that capacity building is not a 15-week program. And then, deuces, let us know how that works out for you. Tupatane mbele. That capacity building is a continuous conversation, connection, and a walk with a half of our population that thrives in collaboration, not in competition. That's why women are really good with chamas, and that's why, according to the research, 97% of the women at the bottom of the pyramid pay back the loans. And yet we're not seeing that as financiers and adjusting accordingly. We are still classifying them as more risky than men who are 76%, I think even less, the bankers know these numbers better than I do, in terms of repayment. How are they the ones who are less risky? Because we're still holding on to the asset as the primary reason why we lend, not the business as the primary reason why we lend. And for as long as we're doing that, we are hampering the women who are working really, really hard. The third thing Ladies, let me just be deep for a quick minute. Whatever problem you are trying to solve, whatever it is, whether it is the problem of unemployment, it is the issue of the clothes that we want to wear, it is the asset that you have that you're trying to monetize in a way that will enable it to continually give you a return. We must allow ourselves to factor in that the demand on our time is very different than the demand on the time of our male counterparts. And therefore allow ourselves the space to include everything that we need to, which is raising the children, raising the man, caring for the parents and grandparents, and managing the relatives, and cooking, and running the business. And so how do we cross-collaborate? How do I ensure that if I want the education that gives life skills for my children, I call Liz and tell her, teach my children about money. Therefore, I give her the business and grow her business while enabling her to raise my children or to co-raise my children in a specific aspect that is very important. And creating the spaces where that exchange happens so that we are buying from one another, our chamas are lending to one another, our opportunities are being circulated in the spaces that we occupy and the rooms that we are in. Once we're able to do this, and the moment in which our financiers understand that we are a better bet than anything that they have done traditionally, everyone wins. Women's businesses grow, banks expand and have numbers that they did not have before, and we challenge institutional solutions like that of the African Guarantee Fund and others who say we want to support women's businesses to actually provide products and services that cater for 50%. In fact, in the case of Kenya, 50.9%. Ladies, please, let's try and like zero in on that 0.1%. We need a majority. But that cater for that 50.9% of the population that is raising the entirety of the 100% because they're raising themselves and they're raising their male counterparts. That, I think, is the good, the bad, and what needs to be done.
Thank you very much. One thing that I really had is interest in how the solution is the problem. Food for thought for NBK and everybody here in corporate. The solution that you think you're offering is actually the problem. That's an interesting one. You know, I did say that after this I'm going to take questions. Again, I do want to encourage the young lady, if you think you can speak. If not, please send somebody on your table. And I saw some other young ones here. And the question is, I forget what I asked at first, but what would you, as a young woman, this is a room of women and men, what is it you need from this set of people represented here to help you thrive so that you can feel that you are included? That is the question. And if you think you can answer that, please just raise your hand. But for now, who has a question or who wants to contribute to the conversation? Let me start with right there at the back. Anybody at the back, you have a question and or contribution? Okay, young people, would you like to speak? Would you like to send somebody? But let me just say, we have men in the room. And, I want to be honest. When I was talking to, I believe it's Alice that I talked to, when we were talking about this event, and I saw on the agenda that the MD, Mr. George Odhiambo, is going to be making a presentation. I asked, why should he make a presentation? Thank God I don't know him, so nothing personal. But I was like, why is he making a presentation? This is about women. And she said to me, the men in this room, whom I don't know personally, but the men in this room are the ones who have created opportunities for women. They are the ones who have inspired inclusion, and they have included the women. So first of all, a big round of applause for the women, the men in the room. But I do have a question for the men. In this conversation about women empowerment and women equality, do you feel in any way that they somehow, women are getting this wrong or taking it a little too far? And the reason I ask is, why is it that sometimes when I go home and I talk about something, I'm told, wacha nikwambie, hiyo maneno ya women empowerment upeleke ofisini. Okay, so men in the room, anybody would like to contribute to that conversation as I wait and take a question from anybody? Anybody? Yes, sir. Oops. Oh, okay, there's a mic.
Thank you, Jenny. My name is Jojo Odhiambo, those who have not known me. Empowering women has never been a risk to men. And the fight that no one has mentioned, that we continue to fight generation after generation, is the cultural setup. We must reset the button for culture from when children are growing. When we are raising boys and they cry because they've fallen down, wacha kulia we si msichana. Some of us are guilty as charged. We've had people being told. And number two that I want to say, the women in various groups, be it chama or whatever, have got very solid social linkage. Converting the social linkage to commercial benefits is an empowerment that still needs to be grown. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. And yes, sorry when I said that, why are you here and why are you going to be speaking, but thank you so much. Ladies, we have champions in the room. We have men who are championing the women equality and women empowerment. And let's give them a round of applause. Thank you very much. Sheila, show me a card. How am I doing on time? Yeah, okay, as she picks the card. Any question, any contribution? Young, good, that's what I wanted to see. There's a lady there. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Mary Otieno. I'm an advocate. I just want to pick Renee's brain a bit. I'm 29 years old, I should say. I put up my hand when you said under 30. And I'm just curious, what do you think about what young people hear all the time, that you have to fail to succeed? Because some of us are very cautious and calculative. When you hear something like that, you might say, let me take the slow but steady route. And I think entrepreneurship goes hand in hand with risk. And I just want to hear what you think about that. Do you think dive into the deep end? Do you think be more cautious? Yeah, so that's my question. Thank you.
Asante Wakili. So let me ask you a question in return. Have you, hold on, don't take the mic away from her yet. And we're going to work this through together for the benefit of the room. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know any babies? Have you ever witnessed, like, or been around any babies, particularly as they start to learn how to walk?
Yes.
Anyone here who is a parent? Aunties, uncles, babysitters of babies have ever seen a baby? So that means everyone in the room. So this is a valid example. So what do babies do when they first start walking? Everyone watch Mary. She's going to give a demonstration of what babies do. So baby starts wanting to walk. What do they usually do?
You want me to act?
Yes, please, feel free. Or describe it.
I'm wearing high heels.
Okay, no, please, just, yes. Okay, or describe it.
Well, they try and hold on to things to support them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So on day 1, do they walk?
No.
Do they walk? On day 10, do they walk? Really? In 10 days? From crawl to walk? That's impressive. This is the action, right? And then one day, there's like a wobbly, and then back down. Parents, what do we do when we video that wobbly standing up for the first time? No one in the family WhatsApp group sleeps. No, there's the front view, there's the top view, there's the side profile, isn't it? And what do? You did it really well. Well done, congratulations. Go on, try again, try again. And at some point, you will agree with me, Mary, barring illness or disability, we all manage one day to get up, to take our first step, and to walk. True or not true?
True.
If that is the route for something as natural as learning how to move from here to there, how do you expect to progress in your life? Through another method that somehow, while sat indefinitely, giving you the analogy of the baby, you will somehow, through a process of osmosis, nini and whatnot, move yourself from here to a place that you want to be. That means a place of excellence and a place of distinction. Effort. Our challenge is this, that we have a conception that feedback on what does not work equals failure. Failure is an identity. In other words, you failed. And that is fed to us. I had a D in biology, boss. Hey, it was very often that my head teacher reminded me, you're fine, but biology. And so then, rather than applaud the failures and ask, what is the lesson learned? So that the next time you know that when you're getting ready to stand up, you might need to widen your legs, or you might need to put one leg in front of the other, or whatever the equivalent is, so that you can get up. We don't take the lessons because we allow ourselves to sit in the failure. Let me tell you something, Mary, for free and for nothing, and this is to Mary and everyone in the room. If you think that entrepreneurship is risky, post-COVID, and now that business is so difficult, try putting your eggs, all your eggs, in one basket called employment, and see how that works out for the majority. Because the truth of the matter is that we are not just in a national economy, but in a global economy that no longer promises what Salma spoke about, which is that you study, you get your degree, you get your job, then it's marriage, 2.5 children, white picket fence, retirement, golden watch, plant avocados. Today, your job on average, 3 years if you're not reskilled, you're out the door. There's someone younger, cheaper, faster. And businesses simply can't afford to keep you unless you become a consultant. Therefore, I want to suggest to you that entrepreneurship is not only the way, it is the only way. Whether you are an intrapreneur, which right now you are selling your services for one main client who is called employer, and you are called employee, for a consideration, since we're lawyers, let's go down that route, for a consideration that is called salary. And when you cease to be able to give 20 to 30x of what your salary is to your employer, they will do a cost-benefit analysis and they will decide, actually, we need someone who is 30xing what it is that we need in order for us to give them the percentage that we give them, and you will be out. So, learn early to fail fast, fail forward, fail while clapping, and then surround yourself by people who celebrate the lessons in you and that you're learning, and who say, now that you didn't make it, go back into the ring with the lesson that you have. And take that lesson and do the next thing. Because out of those lessons, that failure is the fire that will grow you from the place where you are to the place where you want to be, without hoping and praying while sitting that somehow excellence will interrupt you in your mediocrity.
Just to add on to what she was saying, and this is from the mental health perspective, is that yes, entrepreneurship is there and you have to fail, but there's a business for everyone. All right? there's someone who can be able to be there and talk and do this as a kind of business, but there's someone who's happy selling eggs from home and delivering online where they do not. So any business that you start really has to match your personality. So you really know what you're able to sell. There are people who are keyboard warriors. You can sell whatever it is that you want to sell from the comfort of your home. But there are people who can go out there and sell air, like Renee. Renee she can sell to me air and I'm going to buy and convince me how important it is for me. So your personality also matches your entrepreneurship skills.
Thank you. It's very encouraging to hear a 29-year-old asking that question about failure. Failure is inevitable in entrepreneurship. In fact, the earlier you fail, the better. I can give you a practical example of myself. The company I told you I started when I was 27, I closed it after 16 years. That's very shocking. To me, it was mind-boggling. Actually, it was I almost sought the services of a psychiatrist. I mean, because it did not fail because I had no business. It also didn't fail because I had no money. Actually, by the time I closed that business, I had a lot of money in the account. Because I never used to take those big risks of borrowing. Now I do. It failed because me and my partner did not put the right structures in the business. And what happened when it failed? I just had to pick myself up. It wasn't easy. Empower myself with skills. I actually enrolled in a class at Strathmore to relearn business. And I can tell you that is like 7 to 8 years ago. The turnover that I was doing in that company, today I'm doing, I think it's 10 times. You get what I'm saying? Why? Because I failed, but I didn't stay there and whine. I stood up, packaged myself, learned the lessons, implemented, and here I am. In fact, today I look back and say, where were all these opportunities those 16 years? How comes I have so many? You understand? So be happy when you fail. Let it not be an element of judgment or a condemnation of some sort. Because I've seen so many women who closed businesses and closed themselves. They literally closed. So the most important thing is to tell your mind that that was not the end, it was a moment. Learn from it, pick yourself up, and move on. And don't shy off from getting into any business because you think you will fail. You understand, eh? Because whichever business, however small it is, there is an element of failure. So to me, nowadays, I say, let me take the bigger risks. If I succeed, the benefits are bigger. The headache of dealing with a portfolio of 100 million is the same as dealing with 1 billion. That's what I've realized. So let me deal with the billions. I'll make 100 million. You want to deal with your 10,000. The headache is the same, by the way. When you're not paid by a client who owes you 100,000, and I'm not paid by a client who owes me 100 million, the headache is the same. Only that when I'm paid, I'll make 100 million, you'll make 10,000. You understand? So the mathematics is the same. So it depends on your personality, as she said, and the aggressiveness you put across. Yeah? And of course, strategy. In the class, I learned that corporates keep telling us, where is your strategy? Have you done strategic planning? And we have big books like this. That's our strategy. Nobody looks at it. So my lecturer told me, in simple terms, strategy is thinking. So just sit alone in your bedroom and think. Draw your business down and deliver it to the public. That is strategy.
Wow, ladies, strategy is thinking. Thank you very much. Sadly, we have come to the end of this panel discussion. We have had a lot. We talked about inclusivity. We talked about investing in women and therefore accelerating progress. And we talked about bridging the generational divide. There is a lot we didn't talk about. You know, as we were talking, I realized we didn't talk about the woman who is in corporate, who is employed and likes it, and for now is not even thinking about starting a business. What about that woman? What are the opportunities for that woman, and how would she want to be included? So those are some conversations we didn't get to. But ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for Renee, Salma, and Joyce. Thank you very much. And let me finish the poem as you're standing up and probably going back to your seats. Thank you very much. Let me say that we stand, yes, we stand with all the women who have faced discrimination and fought for equal rights and pay with unrelenting dedication. We know the road has not been easy and challenges remain, but we are inspired by your courage. We are inspired by your spirit, bright and plain. So here's to every woman who has ever dared to dream, to fight for justice and for truth, and to create a brighter scene. We will keep on marching forward. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, how awesome was that? What is your one thing? Because I'm sure there's so much to try and compress it into one thing. What are you holding on to with two hands and the neighbor's hands also? What is the one thing that has stood out? Just speak it out. You can shout it, you can whisper it. What are you carrying today from what you've just heard? I'll get you started. A billion shilling headache and a 10,000 shilling headache is still a headache. So if you're going to stress me, give me violence, not peace. Powerful, powerful conversations. We do have very young Kenyans with us today, and I'm very glad to see you here. Imparting skills. I know many of you are parents. It's not just you got an A. How old were you when you actually worked a job and made money? Can you remember? How old were you? 18, 17, 16? What was the youngest? 10, 9? I was 11 when I made my first check and I understood we're living in a world where your skill can open a door for you. What was my skill at 11? I could sing. Now look at me today. I still haven't won a Grammy yet. We're working on that. But that voice is being put to use in different capacities. Is it too late to find a skill that can make money for you? Absolutely not. I hope you feel inspired and rejuvenated, and to know that God didn't just send you to this universe. Just figure it out. When you're in trouble, just yell, please, I'm here. He has a plan for you. And if you've been following National Bank of Kenya, You've Got Business is an online show that pit lots of contestants, participants. You know, I call them contestants because a lot of what I've done with online and television shows has included contestants. So participants who / are contestants, because ultimately you are all battling for something grand. And we have one of those participants with us. Her name is Elizabeth Waithaka. And we just want to hear from you very quickly before we move on to the next part of our program. Participating in You've Got Business. What was that like? We already know there was a mean judge. Although I don't know how she was mean, because from what she was saying here, she just sounds like we should live in her house. What was that like for you?
Hello. Thank you so much, my host, MD, everybody. Good afternoon. Oh, good evening. Sorry about that. My name is Elizabeth. As she has said, I'm one of the most successful cases. And I'm glad to say that we've just been taught to say, mimi ndio tuko. I am a contestant in the You've Got Business. I am a money coach, a personal finance literacy trainer. I am that person who comes into the space of your money. Many of us, as we grew up, nobody said nothing about money. We were taught many things, but not about money. So that is the space that we are in. And as I was going to You've Got Business, and I am glad to meet Renee. She's my biggest mentor. I've just heard her saying that she was a mean judge. I mean, she was a good one. Salma plus others. That time I had written, and I teach children about money from 5 years of age. We don't want the world of our children to be like ours as far as money is concerned. And post-COVID, of course, we did with your staff and yourselves on a personal level. So you can always contact me. As I went to National Bank, I had written a few books, and I did not know how the books would see the light of day. Books allowed children, books allowed adults, and that's how I was picked. And actually, 2 of my books, What is Money Included, had been earmarked by KICD for use for the CBC program. And I did not know how to get to that process because it's an expensive process. National Bank have held my hand in that journey. So my books are currently with KICD. We are doing that process. We want them to come to your children as part of the CBC because we want them to grow empowered around personal finances. So I opened my first account with National Bank so many years ago, 2008 when I got married. But at some point, of course, sijui nilienda wapi, alafu nilirudi. And let me tell you, I am at home. You know the way you go and you see, home is the best. So National Bank is the place, and they have really supported myself plus others to be able to put forward this calling. For me, it's a calling to facilitate people, put order in their money so that they can enjoy a lifetime of financial well-being. It's in the will and the purposes of God that we all live in abundance, but we don't have that capacity. And that's what we build, myself and my organization, and National Bank are one of my biggest partners. They have enabled that. Thank you so much, MD. Thank you so much, the team.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth. Asante sana. Just listening to you speak, we can see how National Bank and the NEAR proposition, and Elizabeth as well, together you're all inspiring and you're championing this whole call and push to inclusion. Because even with your books, it's not just going to teach young girls about personal finance and how to, understanding money. I sometimes feel I was born in the wrong time, and I wish I could go back. Earlier, we were asked about our age, and some of us in spirit are still in our 20s. Others are in the 20s / the teens with VAT and housing tax added plus. But that's the thing. What is money? Money should be working for you ultimately. And then, Renee, we are this rich and we walk around this broke. So many insights, teaching children, not just girls, but little boys as well, to handle money. If we can fix those lessons with the generation coming after us, maybe we won't be in debt anymore. Maybe we can clear debt. Imagine a day when America is coming to ask us for money. We pray to God to keep us alive long enough to see that day. Because it can happen. Who says it can't, right? Higher. Now, I'd like us to move very quickly because I don't want to be the one standing between you and dinner. I'd like us to go very quickly into our next session, which is very quick presentations for you to further solidify and cement this evening's lessons. We begin with our first speaker, who has over 10 years of experience in tax advisory services, tax compliance, and KRA audit management. She leads the tax team, which provides consulting services, including, amongst others, tax compliance matters, tax due diligence, tax health checks, tax due diligence, KRA audits, management and mergers, and acquisitions. She holds a master's degree in business administration, a bachelor's degree in commerce, and is a certified public accountant. She has overseen and managed several transaction advisory engagements for clients across different business sectors in the economy. Please put your hands together for the Senior Manager of Tax at Grant Thornton, Winnie Joy Murugi. I hope you can hear. Thank you so much, Sheila, for that introduction. Well, I don't know. I must say we've been inspired. It's been powerful, just like Sheila said, and we've been impacted. And I think for me, there's a takeaway for all of us as women and even the men, and there's so much we've actually been able to learn from the panelists. And with that, I'm actually wondering, do I really want to talk about tax? Because it's depression. I want to misuse the word depression, just like Salma was saying, you know, because I think we've all interacted with tax. It's not rosy, like I can say. Taxation is something that we've all, encountered, either as employees, as business people. In fact, when Renee was speaking and she was talking about what NBK needs to do, you know, when you see interest rates, you know, the exchange rates, and I felt like I wanted to tell her, add tax, you know, because we've seen how tax has impacted us. If you look at your pay slips, if you go to shopping, you know, women, when you go to your supermarkets and you've seen how the prices have gone up. And some of those things, actually, it is the tax that has, you know, been applied. And, you know, as consumers, what is happening? Tax is being transferred to us as consumers. And, you know, that is in the business world, for example, and in what you buy. So whatever you earn from the payslip, tax has been deducted. So tax is everywhere. We may not want to talk about it, but it's everywhere. But I'm sure we all want to drive on smooth roads. I don't? Because, you know, it is through this taxation, the tax that is collected that roads are actually built. But I'm telling you, somebody will come in and tell me, what about the loans that the government has taken? I will not talk about that. So when Judy said she wants for me to come and talk about tax, and we were wondering again, what do we really talk about tax, and in this particular forum? And I think the focus for us and what we looked at was, I just want to touch on the recent changes that have come up in the last 1 year that may impact you as a business, as an employee, and also as an employer, because tax is very broad. I mean, if we can start talking about tax, we may not even be able to finish today. So hence the reason why, and because we know in the interest of time, I'll just basically focus on a few things that were brought about by the changes in the last 1 year. I'm sure for the first time, many people, even the Mama Boga in the village heard about Finance Act. It is the first time Finance Act was trending, because when many taxes, I think in the last 1 year or two, that's when we've had vast changes when it comes to taxation. And the impact has truly, truly been felt. Or am I the only one? We've all felt it, yeah? So that's what I'm going to be talking about. And I will categorize it, on the basis of various taxes that we have. And one of them I'm going to talk about is under income tax, is something we've actually encountered called ETIMS. I'm sure you've heard about ETIMS. So you're there and you have your business and you're wondering, you're being told that all your expenses must go through the ETIMS system. So effective 1st January 2024, this is now going to be fully effective, that if you're going to procure any services or any form of expenses, goods or services, then they must be through ETIMS compliant system. So you need to deal with a supplier, again, who is ETIMS compliant. So on the VAT aspect, that compliance has always been there, because if you're having a business, irrespective of whether you've hit the threshold of VAT, because somebody here will come and ask me, I've not hit the VAT threshold of, say, 5 million. We've had about hundreds of millions today. But let's talk about those who've not hit 5 million shillings annually in terms of revenue turnover. revenue. So what you're trying to say is, irrespective of the threshold, you should register for ETIMS, and all your expenses should pass through ETIMS the same way your revenues are actually passing through ETIMS. I know there's going to be a challenge in terms of the applicability of this and actually the practicability of this particular aspect, because there are guidelines that KRA is yet to give, and that's what we are all waiting for income tax purposes. So I think we hang around and see what is going to happen, but what we are encouraging business people, try as much to just get onboarded early and get to start dealing with compliant suppliers. And then of course, like you can see there's a penalty for not having complied. I think moving the slides a bit faster. So if you don't comply, this is the penalty that is there, the higher of 1 million shillings, 10 times of the tax due, or 100,000. So you can see this is the price you pay for not being compliant with ETIMS. Next point, please. So still under corporation tax, there are those who may be having residential properties and you're earning residential income. Initially, the threshold was up to 10 million and the tax rate was 10%. So the tax rate has been reduced to 7.5 million and the bracket has been increased to 15 million. I feel this is a welcome move for those who are having residential property. And again, there's going to be a 7.5 rate on withholding tax on immovable property, which was initially at 10%. Moving on. Still under corporation tax, withholding tax. I'm sure for those who have businesses and you're dealing with, say, services, say, professional services, things like those services which are subject to withholding tax. And I'll talk about the legal fees, the consultancy fees, your auditors, for example. So if you have such suppliers and you have to pay them, of course we know you're supposed to deduct withholding tax. Initially, you could deduct withholding tax and remit by the 20th of the next month, but now this has changed. You need to do it every 5 working days. So you can imagine the government wants taxes on a daily basis. Okay? So this is what is happening. The minute you remit, you must make sure you make that payment to KRA within 5 days. So the challenges that has come with this is administrative challenges, because now you're moving from a situation where you could compile all your records in a month and make payments, by the next month. Now, this is not happening. You must keep monitoring. Every 5 days, have I made a payment? Have I deducted? I must remit to KRA. So you can imagine that accountant, you may need to add salary to your accountant, because you can see this is what they're going to be dealing with. Yeah, it's no longer a monthly transaction. It's now going to be every 5 days to monitor, and there are penalties to this if you don't comply, and that applies to withholding VAT as well. What has also been included in the withholding tax base is just the previous slide. Is sales, promotion, marketing, and advertising services. So initially, these were not subject to withholding taxes, so this has been brought into that bracket. So if you're in business and you've procured these services, then you need to withhold. And then Salma talked about digital content creators, mumefikiwa. So if you're dealing with any influencers, people, YouTube, Instagram, you need to deduct withholding tax on that. And that's on top of other taxes that they need to pay. Moving on. So again, if you're in business and you have certain commercial cars, vans, pickups, advanced tax, saloons, buses, and minibuses. So there were certain rates that we call advanced tax that you're supposed to pay on such motor vehicles. So the rates have increased. You can see from 2,400 to now 5,000, depending with the tonnage of the vehicle. So again, take note, if you're having a fleet of vehicles in your business, advanced tax rate has changed. Personal tax. That's where probably, I don't know, maybe some of us are falling in this bracket because you're earning salaries. So you may be aware that salary bands were increased. The last tax rate was at 30%, but now this has changed. The highest being 35%, because for those who earn up to probably more than 500,000, up to 500 to 800, tax will be calculated at 32.5, and those who earn above 800,000, tax is calculated at 35%. And of course, the graduated scale rate has to be applied. So I think that is part of, one of those issues that many companies had not incorporated or changed in their payroll and is now effective. We also have something we call AA rates for mileage. So you have employees, or maybe you're employed, and you use your car for business purposes, and you wonder, what basis will my employer use to refund my mileage? So initially we were using AA rates as a basis, but it was not in the law. So what you're trying to say now, KRA has incorporated this in the law, is in the law. AA rates is what is being used as a determination to pay mileage. So basically a certain rate per kilometer covered. Club entrance and subscriptions, what if you pay, certain club subscriptions, say Parkland Sports Club for your employees, is it allowable for tax? Yes, this is now going to be allowable. This had been changed, but now this is going to be allowable for tax purposes. Next slide, please. VAT. So VAT is what others call a very annoying tax, because basically this is on consumption, right? Anything that you buy, you'll feel the impact of it on what we are buying from the supermarkets, either restaurants, local flights and things like those. So as long as it is subject to VAT, then you'll feel it as a consumer. So the changes that have come when it comes to VAT, at least we've not had a mention of increase in the VAT rate. There was a proposal, but I think it was really fought in Parliament. We thank the MPs for that. It didn't go through, so we are still at 16%. But actually, you need to know, as Kenya, in fact, even in the ESC, we are those who have the lowest VAT rates. So don't be shocked in the near future when Kenya wants to actually increase and be at part with Tanzania and Uganda at 18%. So e-teams, this has always been there. What you're being told is that onboard e-teams in your business. So for every invoice that you raise must go through the e-teams platform. And what happens with this, there's going to be real-time transmission of data onto KRA system. So what KRA is saying, we want to be integrated with your business. We want to know what you're selling. And that can only be achieved through e-teams. So I hope this is not a threat to entrepreneurship. Please go ahead. What KRA is trying to say is just be compliant. Sorry? Yes. So other issues that have come about is conditions for input VAT deductibility. So what they're saying is you need to be in position of a valid tax invoice, and then ensure also the supplier has actually declared the invoice in the return. So this is part of what KRA is saying. They want to use you to help them have everyone be compliant with taxes. And what KRA is trying to say is, besides having a valid tax invoice, the people you're dealing with as suppliers, even before you can claim that invoice as input VAT, you need to make sure that they're also declaring the income. Okay? And what KRA is doing is they're going to prohibit you from claiming that invoice for VAT purposes if this person has not declared for tax. So both of you will get to suffer. So again, that goes down to you as a company. What kind of suppliers do you want to deal with? Okay? Because now KRA is hitting us on all sides. Refund on tax on bad debts, they've extended time. Initially it was 3 to 5 years to 4 years. Now it's 3 to 10 years. So I think that was a welcome move. VAT on compensation of loss, where you have insurance compensation, that one will be subject to VAT. On energy, I think we've all felt this through the, pumps, petrol pumps. We felt when the prices went up because of the increase of VAT from 8% to 16%. I think the only hope we are relying on right now is to see, with the global prices, to see if the prices of petroleum and the petrol products will actually go down. So that's the only thing we are relying on. But as it is, tax was increased from 8 to 16. Liquefied petroleum gas, or the gas that we use at home, went from 8% to 0%. Well, it is a welcome move, but I don't think we've felt the impact of the price of gas at home. Have we? If you're buying gas, you'll know that the prices more or less went up. And what these people will tell you, they are also incurring costs in terms of production. So again, like I said, that cost is passed on to you as a consumer. Employment, I mean, we've all heard about affordable housing levy. What we have not been told is how we are going to get the houses. So I think that's a challenge. Or rather, it has been communicated, only that I'm wondering if the country can house all of us, yeah? For those who are contributing the housing levy, I mean, have we felt the pinch? Have we? Yes. But sadly, it is not going to go anywhere. I know we are enjoying the leave that the Court of Appeal has given us because it was suspended by the Court of Appeal on 26th of January. What the government, I mean, the High Court declared it unconstitutional, of course, because it did not follow the right process. And when you're introducing some of these things, there needs to be, a chance for public to give their own opinion, yeah? What we call the public participation. So that was not done. Hence the reason why you saw the Senate sitting in KICC and other areas trying to call people to to collect information and what their opinion is about housing levy. So that hasn't changed. The Court of Appeal told them you did not follow the procedure, and because of that, we reject that, your proposal to continue collecting. So hence the reason why that is not being collected until when the case is going to be heard. Next point on, yes, but just to say it is at 1.5% and your employer needs to match that as well. Next point on employment is the SHIF, another one I'm sure we are probably not very happy about, because I think what everyone is asking is, was NHIF a failure? Was it? Maybe not, I don't know. And if it was, then maybe what others are asking is, should we have started from, the failures of NHIF instead of actually trying to change the whole system? Because what the government has done, they want to get rid of NHIF and now introduce SHIF. And what is happening, and I could say, even when you look at the extension that they've done in terms of the effective date, probably, yes, it's something they thought about, but how it's going to work is something they did not put thought into. Okay, because yes, it's going to be at 2.75% of the gross salary. Now you can imagine you have new NSSF rates, you have affordable housing levy, So on top of all that, there's going to be SHIF, which is at 2.75, and there is no capping. So what that means is, irrespective of how much you earn, so you can do the math, 2.75 of that will be remitted towards NHIF. I think to enhance equality, they are saying that that also is going to work even onto the non-salaried at 2.75% in proportion of the household income. I don't know how they're going to establish your household income. I mean, would you be willing to disclose if you're an entrepreneur? Yeah, But what they're trying to say, if you're non-salaried, you'll contribute that, but not less than 300 shillings. That's from 500. So that's what is happening. So you may realize you're not being deducted the SHIF yet, yes. And the reason being, again, no guidelines have been issued because there are rumors of, getting rid of the whole system of NHIF and all that. So, of course, you can see we don't have regulations, we don't have guidelines on how it's going to be done, how returns will be filed, how it's going to be paid. And as a result, when it was actually supposed to be effective on 1st March, they've postponed to 1st July, where they hope they're going to have given regulation. I think that brings me to the end of my topic today. I'll hang around in case you have any questions regarding tax. Probably today is the only day you may get to have answers without a fee note. Thank you. Thank you very much. We're very grateful. Thank you for quickly running us through the changes that we can expect. And now I'd like to request that we make a little more time for our next speaker. She is a specialist medical doctor with 45 years experience, spanning from medical officer, pediatrician, and pediatric cardiologist. She served as hospital administrator for 15 years and has grown to be an internationally acclaimed medical professional and hospital administrator. She is a woman who has many firsts and has won many awards, including presidential commendations. For this girl who dared to dream, Giving back is her purpose and mission, and she is fondly treasured by the nation for the Heart to Heart Foundation that she co-founded with her husband. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Betty Gikonyo.
Thank you, Sheila. Good evening. Good evening. I know you're hungry and your blood sugars are down, but we will, I'm told dinner is not too far. It's a great opportunity and great honor for me to be standing in front of all of you to just give a little bit of sorry. Do I start all over again? No. So, ladies, I added gentlemen, because I didn't know that there will be gentlemen in the room, but, and all of you esteemed guests. It's a really a good evening and a happy International Women's Day to each one of you and to every woman, not just here, but not in Kenya, but in the whole world, isn't it? All of us, we are together celebrating this day. Today, as we gather to commemorate the International Women's Day, under the very resonant theme of invest in women, accelerate progress. Let us delve into the journey of investing in women from their earliest days of adulthood. And I was happy when he mentioned about the discrimination that starts from the moment that little boys are told not to cry because they are not girls. That's where you start discrimination, very early. And we want to explore the specific interventions that are needed at each stage in the growth of these children, so that as we discuss about investing in women and accelerating progress, we start with the little girl. Because we were all one day, a long time ago, some of us, were small girls, weren't we? Some of us a long time ago, others not so long ago. Let me start with a disclaimer, because on the program, I'm put as the managing director of the current hospital, which I am not. The managing director or the chief executive officer is none other than Juliet Gikonyo Nyaga, who has come to escort me. I am the chairman of the board of the current hospital, having retired at the age of 70. I was given two topics, which I'll make them very brief. One is to just highlight a few things about my journey. And the other one is, of course, the investing in women and accelerating progress. I'll be very brief with all of them because their time is of essence. So I was asked, I am a medic who has turned into an entrepreneur. What is my take on this transition, from a medic to an entrepreneur and a founder of the current hospital, founder of the Heart to Heart Foundation, amongst others? And the question was, what brought about this transition? Let me just like the accountant turned ICT expert, mention that it is not something that you start from one, then you become the other. It's more of a growth from one into another. and sometimes practicing both. My dream as a little girl was to be a doctor. And that was what I have written about in my book that I've authored, The Girl Who Dared to Dream, which was launched in 2013. So it's quite a notebook. I would recommend reading, not just for girls, not just for boys, but for anybody who has a dream that is there waiting to be actualized. So I began my training. So I will not go into the details about how I became a doctor, because it is just like every other doctor. You go to med school at the University of Nairobi, then worked in the government for a while in Nakuru, then came back to the University of Nairobi to do my master's in pediatrics. And then as if that was not enough, I went over to USA to do my pediatric cardiology. And so I had, at that point, concluded with my dream. My dream was to become a doctor. I was a doctor. I was ready to practice medicine for the rest of my life. However, while we were in the US, in the cold winter of Minneapolis, together with my husband and the 3 children, one of whom now, has grown, to take over, from me, we were thinking, what shall we do when we come back home? Yes, we shall practice medicine, but where? And we knew about Kenyatta National Hospital and the other public hospitals, and we knew that there were challenges that needed to be overcome before we could practice what we had learned. And therefore, we started dreaming, a dream now we dreamt together with my husband. When we come back, we'll practice medicine, but we'll also start a hospital. Now, that was an audacious, objective, because how do 2 doctors start a hospital? Doctors are meant to practice in hospitals, not to start hospitals. But we held on to that dream, and when we came back, we started our private clinic, which we ran. But as we ran the private clinic, we started, drawing, on pieces of paper how this hospital would look like. Very soon, that drawing was picked by an architect who now, produced something marvelous, but still on paper, and it was still a dream. And now we knew that to be able to get to this hospital, we needed money. So we got somebody in the finance to do a good business plan, because you can imagine 2 doctors are no good, for doing a business plan. We never learned that in medical school. So we got my brother-in-law free of charge, to come up with a business plan, because, so that we had something we could present to the potential investors and financiers. So we worked for 20 years, from 1986 to 2006, as private practitioners. But in the meantime, we were looking for financiers to still be able to start this hospital that we were still believing that it would happen. 20 years. So I want those of you who are ADA, and I brought 2 ADA 30s here, with me, so that they don't, when I tell them the story in private, then they can hear it now in public, that 20 years is how long it took before starting a private clinic to actually founding the current hospital. Why did it take so long? Because nobody believed in us. Nobody believed in 2 doctors starting a hospital. We were carrying this business plan, but we needed a 3rd person to come interpret it. And that 3rd person, it was very essential to have them. But cut a long story short, after being ridiculed about what happens when a hospital fails, do you sell the patients, or whom do you sell? What is the collateral? And another one said, a hospital is also like a church. You have a congregation. What happens, when it fails? The congregation become the collateral. There's nothing that we didn't hear. But we soldiered on. And in 2003, now that and National Bank of Kenya is a subsidiary of KCB. There's one bank that believed in us, and that was Kenya Commercial Bank. Kenya Commercial Bank believed that what we had on paper and the savings we had made over 20 years and the land we had acquired in Karen were enough, for them to believe that a hospital project, the Karen Hospital, was bankable. What do you call it? It was a bankable project. And they advanced us not only money to build the hospital, but also to equip. Please clap for Kenya Commercial Bank. Clap for a local African bank, where we had tried from the highest to the lowest, being asked to go to the World Bank, go to who, but finally it was our own local bank that believed in us. And I was talking there, to Mr. Odhiambo, and I said, I'm not, and now I can say loudly about Kenya Commercial Bank in a national bank function, because as he was telling me, you are just only different from the front, but the back side, you are one. But nevertheless, even in my book, I've acknowledged not once, not twice, that magnanimity that was extended to us, 2 novices, in terms of running a business. Yes, we were cardiologists, but we were not, cut, we did not think we were cut to run a business. But let me tell you, everybody is cut to run a business. There's nobody who was born, carrying a card saying, I'm a business person, you are me, I'm to be employed, and me and the other one, I can do both. All of us can, either is a choice that we make, and that choice is valid. So that is how, so the question was, how did we transit? We did not transit from being medical into entrepreneur. We actually just, flow. It was a natural flow, but a very difficult one, required a lot of resilience, a lot of, as I said, hard work, believing in yourself, and holding on to the dream at whatever cost. Remember, holding on to that dream at whatever cost. And that cost really bore the fruit of what we are. So I would say, so that actually then probably answers that first question about transitioning from, because we did not quite transition. We went on to practice medicine at the Karen Hospital. And I practiced medicine, as well as ran the hospital for a period of 10 years, after which it became too much, when now, apart from the hospital, there were 8 outpatient branches. There's one in Meru, one in Karatina and Nyeri, Thika, we are in Nakuru, we are in Naivasha, we are in Rongai and Central Business District. We also at the same time started a medical training college for nurses, and that also was extra work, And as if that's not enough, the Heart to Heart Foundation, thank you. The Heart to Heart Foundation, which we had started way back, is celebrating 30 years, had grown. And Heart to Heart, many of you have walked, thank you very much. Last year we had 30,000 school children participating in the Heart to Heart Foundation that we started 30 years ago. Over 600 children have had heart surgery, from poor families, and over 10,000 health workers have been trained, to take care of children to prevent heart diseases. So we continue. So, 2020. Now you can guess my age. I already told you at what age I retired. I retired from the Karen Hospital as the CEO, and I am now running the board. And I'm happy where I am, being able to look and ask questions instead of being asked questions. The other question that I was asked to answer, to respond to, was what is self-assessment. Has there been a time when you had to go back to the drawing board? Has there been a time when you thought it wouldn't work? Well, Google has become our reference point. And when it says going back to the drawing board, means that you have achieved some success, but then something goes wrong. And somebody said it very, very eloquently. Yes, she had for 16 years run a successful company, and then something went south. For me, and that was, I think she answered the question. Things can go wrong, but don't stay there. Wake up and continue. You know, you are still alive, breathing, and your heart is beating, and everything God has given you is working. Go on. As for me, I thank God that, that I didn't, there's no time that I can say. It's not that there has not been difficulties. Difficulties have been there. You know, what she has been talking about KRA, I don't know who is afraid of KRA, because I'm not one. Because they visit you, like the thief at night, and make your life, pretty miserable. But difficulties have been there. There are times when you couldn't pass the payroll. There are times you can't pay suppliers. There are times, when the workers, are dissatisfied. So difficult times are there. So when I say I'm not, it has not come to the point where I have to go back to the drawing board, does not mean there has not been difficulties. But luckily, didn't have to go through what our sister here, went through, close the company and start afresh. And now, instead of dealing with, as you said, 100 million, she's dealing with $1 billion. Well, congratulations. And it is that's where we should aim. That's where we should all aim at. Not just a billion Kenya shillings. I think we should be aiming for $1 billion. You saw the lady who gave $1 billion, to university. All of you read about it. It's doing the rounds. If you haven't seen it, then you are not in the WhatsApp groups. Yeah. So there are some people who deal with $1 billion and give it away, as a scholarship. So I thank God that yes, things have not gone south, but things have been difficult. Business is difficult. So I'll say the last question that she wanted me to answer, if I can find it after he said a medical degree is not only the only degree you hold. Why is growing in financial literacy crucial, no matter the field or practice? And the reason why she asked that is, in my career, I had to decide at one point, 3 years into running Karen Hospital, I realized that I did not have the financial literacy required to run a business. So I went back to school, registered for an executive MBA, because I wanted to run the business professionally. I wanted to be able to speak the language of finance, not only of finance, but of procurement, of human resource, but very, very importantly, finance, which is the heartbeat of any business. That's where everything starts and ends, because financial health is important for any business. So I went back to school, just like our friend here went back to Strathmore, to study, business administration, so that I could be able to run the business. So with that, therefore, I would encourage anybody, if you find yourself in a space like that, where you cannot, you do not understand, or you need more knowledge, go back to school. I was 58 years old when I went back to that MBA. So You are never too old. I can see you want me to finish. I will therefore not answer the next question, but I'll say I'll put just 5 points, I'll not elaborate, about investing in women, to accelerate progress. And I'll take the direction of a pediatrician, very different now from all this management language we have been using. We must start working on our girls when they are from the time they are toddlers. There are some communities where a baby boy is more precious than a baby girl. We must kill all such cultures and say it is not. We may say it's African. In where I come from, when a boy is born, 5 urinations. When a girl is born, 3 or 4. Why? Don't ask me. All that we are saying is, let us start from there and start what Mr. Othiambo said. Do not adulate the girl from their small. Give them the full opportunity. That's at the very young age. As they get now to the older age, which is they are now going to school, our girls are missing school because of something very biological, which is menstruation. What are we doing to make sure that our girls do not miss school and therefore get disadvantaged or face embarrassment when they stay in their uniforms? That's something that we need to think about. Then we come to when we are now working, pregnancy. What are the advantages we are given but at the workplace? Not just the leave, maternity leave, but what about ability to work from home? Ability, to get protracted leave, to be able to look after that baby, and other things that have been said, that you have breastfeeding booths. Which institution have you found one? There are creches for children. Where are the institutions that have them? That we can come with the child, to work. So then that is biological, attributes that we as women, we suffer disadvantage. And finally, when it comes to employment, are we getting, somebody said, are we getting the same salaries as our male counterparts? Are we, when we go for an interview, are we really presenting ourselves and saying, I can speak as loud as a man, I can work harder than the man, and I can shine and excel more than the man? We are brought up to say, my name is Betty, and I used to teach the women in my organization. It says, talk like a man, but act like a woman. Women are very compassionate. Women are very understanding. But the men outspeakers in the boardrooms, even when in the all staff meetings, let us teach our girls from very young age that being in a small voice or a soft voice is not it's not beneficial at all. So with that, I'll stop there. I just please allow me to give my mantra, which I really must get. In the midst of all this, sometimes you get yourself. But my mantra in life is that dream. You must have a dream. But then you must wake up and actualize your dream. And actualize your dream with conviction, hard work, resilience, and don't allow anybody to tell you you can't do it. Thank you.
Let's give her another round of applause. As she makes her way back to her seat, our next speakers, you have exactly 2.5 minutes each. And we shall start with an experienced leader with a demonstrated history of working in the financial services industry. She has a strong business development professional skill in leadership, strategy, analytical skills management, insurance, and actuarial science. Please join me in welcoming the Chief Sales Officer at Sanlam, Jacqueline Karasha. And your clock is ticking.
Thank you, Sheila. I had 5 minutes when Sheila spoke to me. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, ladies, it's our night. Good evening. I know sugar levels are down, but isn't it so inspiring? I mean, I was sitting here and I was thinking, I should have just come as an attendee. Thank you, Mr. George, for having us and for the entire leadership of National Bank. My job here this evening was to describe and bring it home. The whole agenda and theme around this year's International Women's Day is inspire. Ladies, inspire. And there's the thing we're doing. How are we doing it? Can we just do it? I know we are hungry. Let's just do it. So we're doing what? Let's repeat it. We're inspiring inclusion. And how we're doing it together with National Bank at Sanlam, we came together and said, banking for the longest time has been about, and I mean, Renee, you're so passionate about, the lending and the accounts, and we come to banks for money. But there's more to financial inclusion than that, right? And that's why we came together and said, can we come together to give insurance solutions through the bank? So Sanlam and National Bank have come together for a strategic partnership in which we call bank assurance. And the whole idea is, as we are engaging with you to accumulate your wealth. Thank you for the lady, I think Jane, who's talked about billions. And we are accumulating our billions. Are we protecting it? And so we give a holistic solution around accumulation and then protection. I will not go into my presentation. I think I have 1 minute now. But I just want to say this. As we are busy building our businesses, and Dr. Betty is such a perfect example. Why do we wake up every morning to go into that business? We want to do what? To leave a legacy, right? That's the whole point. The money is good. I mean, money is good. But we want that legacy to outlive us. How do you ensure that this business that you have worked so hard for, and for us who have, and I mean all of us have dependents, so we're working for our children, we're working for, I think mainly our children. I don't think I've tried, even husbands, ladies, I don't know. But we hope the husbands are working hard for us, right? But so for our dependents, it's so that we can outlive and extend that love to them. So I want to introduce to you, courtesy of Sanlam and National Bank, a partnership that does not drive life insurance, but we're calling it love insurance. Tell your neighbor, love insurance. Love insurance for your children, love insurance for your business, love insurance for your employees who are working so hard, even when you're not there, to build that legacy. So speak to us. We have education plans, we have pension plans, retirement solutions, we have business solutions, we have all that. But at the end of it, we have built a love insurance that includes women, and we're at the core of it. We are the buffer that holds the society. We have been the insurance for the longest time. And now we have solutions that will cover us. So allow me to just play this last video as I go to sit down. I have 50 seconds. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Today we make a promise to every man, every woman, and every child on this continent.
We're the biggest insurance and asset management group on the African continent.
Absolutely, Paul. We're driven by a big purpose. We want to make a big impact in the lives of all Africans, helping them achieve their big dreams.
Which is why we've invested more than R1 trillion growing and developing the communities right across the continent with the purpose of creating generational prosperity.
It's why Sanlam believes in making big investments that make the biggest change. It's long-standing partnerships like this that has empowered more than 1 million Africans. Because wisdom is only useful when it's shared with everyone.
More than 70,000 learners benefited from the Blue Ladder Schools program.
So Sanlam have opened their arms as wide as they can to expand financial inclusivity.
93,000 beneficiaries reached through face-to-face consumer education program.
They know no one is ever too small to make a big difference if we are all given the right opportunities.
Job creation through a 2.25 billion rand commitment to seed the investor's legacy range.
So Sanlam is making sure there are big opportunities for big partnerships. Which is why they're taking massive steps to help all of us break through to the big time.
Close to 160 million rand invested in enterprise and supply development.
It's little wonder Sanlam is taking such a big amount in the renewable future of Africa.
Almost 32 billion rand allocated to renewable energy, water, sanitation, and oceans infrastructure.
Because Sanlam believes in growing confidence in the greatness of our land and its biggest untapped resource, all its people.
Over 2.8 million people reached
Sanlam's Consumer Financial Education Awareness Initiatives.
There for you through the big challenges and big changes.
With a big investment of over 5 billion rand to support our clients and communities during COVID-19.
Well done, Sanlam, for being awarded the Top Employers Certification in South Africa for the 8th consecutive year.
Building the lives Sanlam believes every African deserves.
716 million rand invested in public benefit activities by the Sanlam Foundation.
In making all Africans' biggest dreams come true. To live the life they've always wanted. And that's a big deal.
Thank you very much, Jacqueline Karasha, for sharing that with us. She is the Chief Sales Officer at Sanlam. And now for our next presentation. This is from a results-oriented executive leader and seasoned business management consultant with a pragmatic approach, leveraging extensive expertise in transformative institutional growth, innovation, resource optimization, and strategic partnerships. She has over 27 years of diverse and senior management experience across sectors including boards, university councils, banking and finance management, development partners consulting, and private sector entrepreneurship. She is also a practicing entrepreneur, management consultant, scholar, and publisher on small and medium-sized businesses. She is a dedicated advocate for cultivating a results-oriented work culture, enhancing not just institutional, but also personal individual performance. Please join me in welcoming the lead consultant, IBA Network, Margaret Gitonga. Karibu sana. I will harakisha you, but it's all for a good purpose.
Thank you. Ladies, good evening. Men, thank you for being here. Good evening. My fellow former colleagues in banking, led by the MD and who was also my former colleague, George Odhiambo, and Rosalie, and the rest of the team. It's my honor, and because I've been given only 5 minutes, I'll keep it that brief. I've driven all the way from Nakuru to be here. For 5 minutes, I will make sure it's 5 minutes, right? Now, having listened to each and everyone who spoke before me, and the beauty thing of speaking last is you can say all that has been said is true, right? But because this is the platform where I now practice, one as a policy maker, as a as a board member of Macro and SME Authority, where I'm mainstreaming women in business, candidly so. And having engaged a lot of business women in that for the last 10 years. I left banking 10 years ago. Don't again calculate years. I want to, in the interest of time, just leave a lot of questions in your mind. And probably I'll sit behind as you can engage, or you can reach out to us at African Women in Business and Advisors Network. This is what we do on a daily basis in the office in Westlands. And I want to just use the latest survey that we couldn't find in Women in Business by Gaston. Gaston is an economist. And just prog you a bit that when we say during COVID, businesses declined, actually, during COVID and after COVID, businesses thrived. Do you agree with me? Businesses thrived. But the most businesses that thrived are actually businesses that were fronted by women. And as such, you will realize 2018, women opened 28% of the businesses. 2019, 29%. 2020, at the height of COVID, 47% of the businesses that were created and opened were by women. And 2021, 49%, and 2022, 47%. Ask yourself why. And that is the reason why today we are here in this room. It is because 2020, most of the businesses by women were businesses that then they found themselves influenced by pandemic, layoffs, immediate financial reasons. And of course, now as they sat with their children, they needed to be creative. So they started surprise of food, COVID. You all know that. So they quickly thought, and men didn't think that. Men went to the villages, some closed businesses. I'm trying to prog you to realize that women thrive mostly due to COVID. And as they did that, as the COVID, post-COVID, then women realized, after all, we can actually now thrive in business. And they started this, the crunch which now employers are struggling with, the clamor for need for flexi time. Flexi time, they realized, oh, career women, I still need my children and I still need to balance. And of course, COVID taught them they can make money where they are standing or they are staying at home. That's why it has stabilized post-COVID. This shift has continued to influence businesses, and I believe some of us in this room are either products of this season or their businesses have been forced to redefine by this season. So, in the interest of time, I'll leave 5 questions with ourselves. Now that we have so much drive of women startup businesses, and one of the things in Kenya we lack, and that is what I'm struggling with at Micro and SME Authority, and trust me, for my 3 years, it will be done, is to have policy-driven metrics and a criteria that we can say these are micros, these are SMEs, these are women, so that we can have interventions that then drive that economy in the appropriate manner. But let me bring it home and say, as we do this, as I hear Joyce, and congratulations. It is true. The first time I went to business also, and I heard that the headache of making 1 million and 10 billion is the same. Came from my husband of many years of business. And he couldn't understand why I'm counting coins instead of counting notes. And then I learned the art. And the heart is what I want to probe you today. I want to leave you with questions. For you then to partake that 1 billion business, what do you need to do? And that is the mantra for me this year. Those who have looked at my Facebook or my wherever, I am not very active or engage me. our mantra, reframing for success. Reframing for success. So I want to review the mantra in business today. Reframing for success, which we are practicing at Africa Women in Business Advisors Network. For you, how are you structured as a person, as a business leader for your business? You hear Dr. Gekonyo went back to school to do finance, isn't it? And Joyce also went back to school to do something else. How are you structured as a person to be able to lead your business to do the 1 billion? Why are we doing a rat race instead of doing the big check? How are you structured in your business so that you don't, whenever I sit with women and we are in coaching, I say, by the way, we need to write a check. Can you remove your checkbooks? And people remove checkbooks. But do you know what that tells me? You are not structured. When you are not there, no business cannot learn. I've just signed over, I won't say how many millions that was seated there, and I sent it to the bank, and tomorrow they will execute. That's what it is these days, isn't it? But how are you structured to be able to operationally partake that? Your finance systems must work. You must have the right people in place. So that will do what I usually tell ladies. You must be the giraffe in the room when you are sitting at the chair. You must see far. But when you are here counting, do you think you'll see the next business being discussed on the next room? Yeah? Itakupita too. So how are you structured so that your systems work, your teams are competent enough to be able to develop, to give you the growth? How are you structured in your linkages, in your networking? Those who are not here, I'm sure they won't hear what we are saying today. Congratulations, because you spent time and you are here. Because there you must come out with the 10 networks. That is part of business growth. That's part of structuring yourself. How are you structured? Even with your partnerships. Are you with the National Bank? Are you with the KCB? Who are you with? Can they partake a current project in those many years? I believe I was there. Sorry, now I confess I was in KCB. And the relationship managers, Alice Kugo, if you remember, was struggling to convince everybody that project is viable. But it wanted to be a lady. And she fought for it, and now the hospital is what it is. Are you structured with a bank that can partake can take you to the next level? How are you structured in your documentation? Majorly, there are about more than 12 documents. And I like, Joyce, when you say you speak to ladies and they don't have Agipo. For me, let me tell you, when I left the sector, when I left corporate from 7th floor, the first thing I got was register. I left on 2nd January. I registered in March. By April, I had Agipo. The opportunity on women with Agipo is enormous. But when I ask how many documents do you have of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to be able to partake an international buyer or an international organization, there are about 12, 15. They only have 2. City Council, na ile ingine, right? So how do you then tender? Because nobody will give you these days. Now that E-Teams is here, you have to work with organizations that are also very structured. Imagine I love KRI. Not because of what they are asking us to do. It's because when your documentations are so clear, and when you're not clear, you can email them and they will come and teach you. They were there installing IFMIS in my office. I didn't have to go there to install it in a cyber cafe, right? How are we structured? So that then we can be able to partake and grow our businesses. The farming success for me is a necessary evil. And I leave it to you ladies, the defining, the framing, organizing your business is a necessary evil. Because that is what corporates do. Though they call it strategizing, organization, what do you call it these days? I forgot, George. Yeah? Yeah? The structuring. Yeah? That is what they do. They call it operational process reviews. Let me tell you, if you have to grow to a corporate, you have to imitate and demonstrate and intentionally put corporate structures into place. Madam Dr. Betty sits in the board now as a chair. A chairman of the board. She started as the dreamer of the vision. And she can tell you the reason why it's grown so much is because they are structured up to the board level. I end by saying, I see these businesses in this room to me as an opportunity to work together as women to build a formidable unlocking potential of businesses in this world. I see an international business in this room. I see an international consultant in this room. And we are here to help you, handhold you. If you need me, I do this a lot. Pro bono, most of the time, especially for PWDs. If you have a PWD who is in business and want to be supported, I'll do that pro bono. Remember, one person potential is limited, but jointly we are limitless. I leave those provoking ones with you. I leave those provoking questions, hoping that I'll find better opportunity to serve you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's give her another round of applause. And finally, our next speaker is an experienced business leader with a demonstrated history of working in the commercial banking industry, skilled in business planning and execution, analytical skills, quality management and general management, strong business development professional, with a postgraduate diploma focused in corporate governance from KCA University. He sits in various boards in Africa and is not just a situational leader who works well with all people. He is a champion for the women agenda, a business coach, a nurturing people coach, and a transformational leader. Please join me in welcoming the Managing Director of the National Bank of Kenya, Mr. George Odhiambo.
Thank you, Sheila. Thank you. I'm the most unlikely person to stand in this podium at this time to speak to ladies on this auspicious day and week of International Women's Day. I will not belabor you with going to the history of all this when it started because you've researched and know it better. What Jane asked, why me? I also asked and I was told is in the spirit of inspiring inclusion. So I found myself comfortable. A while back, I was asked also to speak to an occasion like this in Kigali, and I was invited by Lieutenant Rose Kabuye, who's a military lady, to speak to ladies gathered in an evening like this at Serena Hotel. So the conversation was winding, but we ended well. You know, ladies are always encouraged by consultants and mentors to start small. There's no harm in starting small. But there's something you must know. If you owe a bank small money and you are struggling to pay, it is your problem. If you owe a bank big money and you are struggling to pay, it's a bank's problem. So thank you so much, Joyce, for guiding to that direction. I also resonated with what she said. There's 10,000 in account, you need 16. My first job in the bank was to sell accounts. Target of 2 accounts per week, minimum opening balance of 10,000, 1999. Who had 10,000 to spare that I won't touch? So you had to be creative. And those people never used to sit in the ground floor. They used to sit on second floor going up. And you had to scale 2 barriers to reach them. The guard, which you need to buy an everyday battery to always walk around. If it's necessary, you will donate your battery. And then the second floor, there's a table you must pass. And you must have a rose flower sometime before you get your account. So I also resonated with how difficult for Dr. Betty Kikonyo to get funding from a bank. You know, when we were young bankers, we were orientated. You are taught when you are going out to sell, when a school wants a loan, you must ask yourself, should they default? Will you close the school gate or the classroom door? So that was a no-go zone, unless the director would commit their own personal property. Likewise to a church, which later on I became bold enough and gave money to churches on Friday because there's a wedding on Saturday and there's a church collection on Sunday. So Monday they will pay before my supervisor asked me about this report of our drone account. What's happening here? So they'll show me their plan. So gradually we started respecting that churches can also pay. Equally in hospital, I spent 10 years in Rwanda. I came last year, January. The biggest private hospital in Rwanda is called Legacy Clinics and Diagnostics. They're expanding and they're looking for millions of dollars. And this became urgent because of COVID. People couldn't fly for treatment out of Rwanda. So you have to get those services locally, but they have never been available. So the question of, should they default? What would you do to patients? And should there be a need to go and close a COVID ward? Who will close it? Who will keep the key? So I resonate with a number of things that have been spoken here, and I'm really humbled that the level of debate and discussion is so high compared to what it was 30 years ago. I mentioned 30 specifically because the first time I heard of Dr. Betty Gikonyo, there was Mata Hat Run. I was a student at the university, just about to graduate. And we were so excited to go and run to block a hole in the heart. That's how we understood it. We went to the Faculty of Medicine and consulted our colleagues. What is this heart run about? What's it supposed to do? So they gave us the basics. And thank you so much for having that dream for the Mata Heart Run. 600 surgeries from very vulnerable families is an amazing contribution that you can give to humanity. If I wasn't a banker, I would be a teacher. I just love teaching. I just love teaching mathematics at the University of Nairobi. I never thought I would do anything else. So I thought I would go to bank, work for 5 to 10 years, go back to the university. It has been 25 years, I've not gone back. The reason I wanted to go to the bank is because I wanted to be a branch manager. So I had to follow several routes, do it harder than everybody else. But one experience, because I had someone talked about, there's a branch of Karen Hospital in Meru. Meru is a town I love. My first time of going to Meru, I asked a friend of mine who is a banker, how do I go to Meru? Say, Wenda, tea room, book and silver. When you reach Thika, tell driver, ukifika Meru nishukishe. And you are in Thika. Ask me, what are you smoking? I'd never passed that road. Weka chini, if you see the last person walking out, tumefika Meru. For 5 hours, I was reading the signposts along the road. Nisome Meru iko wapi. I ended up in a market called Gakoromone. So I had to help myself some avocados and go to the hotel, Meru Safari Hotel. That is a long story cut short. So you, ladies and a few gentlemen here, I want to let you know that National Bank of Kenya is a partner you can count on. I have 1,542 staff. 51% or 790 are ladies. 51.2% are ladies. Gentlemen are 48.8%. They are 752. But the nice story doesn't go further. If you go to the leadership apex, there's only one lady in the board, Director Lina Githuka, who has just walked out. She has another meeting. So you see, where do we disappear in between here? We are 790 ladies, 752 men. Even if you were to do a vote to choose anybody and they were united, they will win. But you know what happens sometimes, you know? If that vote was to be called, it would be very difficult sometime to win. So mine is to thank you for sparing time this evening. I don't want to take so much time. I said I was the most unlikely person to be here. For Rene, we have unfinished story about in disproportionate ratio of women in prisons and the expectations of men on them. So Salma will continue talking. We have unfinished business on NIA, judges, and all that you're doing, because I'm following on that. I know I have colleagues from National Bank here, but I'm also blessed to have Rosalind Gishuru with us, the Director Marketing, Communication and Citizenship at the group of KCB. Thank you so much for your support. If I knew you were here, I would not stand here to speak. I would have asked that I be substituted. So the ratio and development and investment on staff in National Bank is a continuing journey. 51% overall population at my C-suite and the people reporting to me, 38%. 5 out of 13 are ladies. At the start, we start the same numbers, but we appreciate the challenges they have to go through, the balancing they have to do, because globally, ladies do more care work that is not paid 3 times than men. If that was to be converted into monetary value, UN says it's 40% of the global GDP. So don't start thinking too small, because the day you have a problem, it will be your problem. You'll get calls every 2 hours. But if you have a billion that is struggling, I will personally be at your office and wait for the people ahead of me just to have a word with you. And then ask you, what can we do jointly? So don't go for that telephone loan of 50,000, 20,000, restocking. It's for consumption, it's not for investment. So the product was designed for consumption. You are running out of fuel, you are far from somewhere, you can fuel and continue the journey. It's not for starting the business. So I want to stop there and thank you so much for your time. I will be looking forward to talk to a number of you more and more. And one thing that makes me very happy to be here, I bought a product from a business lady who banks with us today. So I've committed to Rose, who will support to drill water in dry areas. Before end of this month, Rose, you will drill that borehole, build the steel tower, 8 meters top, do the hydraulical test and everything when you are ready. So that is supporting ourselves to support everyone. So on that note, I want to return it to Sheila. Thank you so much for making it lively, short, and precise. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Now, before you leave, I'd like you to step right in the middle of the stage, and then I'd like to request Madam Karasha, come. We have presentations. Songa katikati. Ndio tuweze kukuona. I mean, there's a lady who just got business pale. So we want to see you, so when we break off for dinner, proposals ziko tayari. Lakini kwanza mtamwacha hale. Okay. We have a presentation we'd like to give to our speakers this evening, and we will start with the inclusion of tonight's agenda. So we shall start with you, and we present you with a token to say thank you for hosting us. Thank you for inviting all of us to come out. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, thank you, thank you. One more photo they want to, and while that is happening, I'd like to request Rosalind Gishuru. Where, who was writing this? This handwriting, or is it my glasses? When you have VAT added to your 20s, things happen. Please, karibu sana, don't go just yet. We have another one to present to you. It's for you. Sanlam is, partnerships are good. Sometimes you can be the host of the evening, but you also receive a thank you. And so thank you very much, Rosalind. Joyce Karaoke. Joyce Karaoke, are you here? We'd like to acknowledge you and say thank you. Thank you so very much. Madam, we will have better headaches from this day forward. You have inspired us with... Let's give her a big round of applause. And while that happens, Renee Ngamau, please come up. Stand right next to me as photomoto is happening. Yes. Pictures must be taken today. Karibu sana. Renee, thank you for reminding us of our heritage, that we are richer than we actually think we are. So, asante sana. Let's give her a round of applause. These pictures have to have sound effects. Salma, please come and join me. Thank you very much for those powerful presentations. Remember, you can interact and ask questions. Maybe earlier you felt, I don't want people to hear my question, but they will be here, so do your best. And thank you, Salma, for participating as well. A round of applause for Salma. Thank you. Now for the next batch of pictures, I would like to request Jacqueline to sit. Thank you. You did an excellent job. Didn't she do an excellent job? And now I'd like to request MD to come up and give out the next batch of tokens to just say thank you for the evening and thank you for your time, skill, and yes, contribution. So we shall start with Winnie Joy. Something special for Winnie Joy Murugi. Let's keep clapping. Our next one will go to Dr. Betty Gikonyo.
All right, great to see all of you. You look very great from this point of view. Asanteni sana for being here. All protocols observed. I know people are so hungry right now, and we said our sugar levels are down. But I would like to appreciate each and everyone from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for making this day beautiful. Thank you for making time to come. Thank you for just gracing our occasion. Thank you for supporting NIA. NIA is our National Bank Women Program. We take care of women in MSME. And that's why we are here for this dinner, because of the NIA program, the NIA proposition. We take care of the woman. So without further much ado, I would like to appreciate everyone and just dismiss us for dinner, just the way I was told. I may not do it as well as she does it, but should I maybe start with a prayer? End with a prayer? For the meal? Okay, fine. That's okay. So I will, before I give it back to Sheila, I'll pray for the meal that we will go out and have. So let's bow down for prayer. Lord, our Father, Son, Holy Spirit, thank you for this beautiful evening. Thank you for everything that you've been to us today. Thank you for this beautiful event. Thank you for this beautiful dinner that we've had. Thank you for everyone who's made time to come to grace our occasion today. As we go out right now and grab a meal, we pray that you may bless it and sanctify it and be with us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. So let's interact, let's network, let's take that number, take that, speak to that person next to you, the person across the table. Thank you.
Thank you. We will begin service with the high table, the table at the center. We will clear it for you to serve first, and then all of us, we can go and enjoy dinner. Good evening and happy International Women's Day.